Mike Tomlin is out, stepping down as Pittsburgh Steelers head coach following their debacle of a performance in the first round of the playoffs against the powerhouse Houston Texans defense. All that and more. What's next for the Steelers on today's NFL Six Pack?
This is Locked On's NFL Six Pack. 6 bold takes from 2 guys who just flat out know football. NFL experts Matt Williamson and Brian Peacock bring pure NFL talk. Great takes, no fluff, just honest football talk. Crack one open. It's NFL Six Pack on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the NFL Six Pack. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson at PD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen of the day, and thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. It's not really going to be a 6-pack today. It's going to be a 1-pack with multiple ideas and that kind of circle the Pittsburgh Steelers because of the massive news that dropped today with Mike Tomlin stepping down as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers after 19 years. We still haven't talked about that football game from Monday Night Football. Long day for you, Matt, I know. I want to talk about all the 9 head coach openings as well, where the Steelers fit in there, what the Steelers are looking for now as head coach, what this all means as we, I think, are done. Or is there a 10th head coach opening to come potentially in the NFL? Let's put a pin in that one real quick.
Yeah.
We've got to start with this. And it's been a long day for you. We're late getting our Tuesday episode up because you obviously had a lot to talk about today in Pittsburgh with a monumental thing because the Steelers aren't like, my son's 7 years old. He's seen 4 or 5 Jacksonville Jaguars head coaches. You are 50 years old and you've seen 3.
My son's 19. He's seen 1.
God, that is wild.
Yeah.
When the Steelers change head coaches, it is a much bigger deal than when some other franchises do change head coaches. And after 19 years, it is not a firing, correct? It is Mike Tomlin deciding to step away for what sounds like a year and maybe do TV or something. And so he's not available to even be hired by somebody right now, right?
No, yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But I want to thank you and our listeners for being patient. It was a crazy day. I mean, just to pull back the curtain, I like telling people about like how things work, how the sausage is made sometimes. There was 2 different shows that I do basically through Steelers.com that we pre-record before they go live. So we recorded the entire hour show about how terrible the Steelers looked on Monday night and man, that was awful, blah, 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 you know. And then an hour later, the news breaks and we had to totally scrap that show and do it over because you have to mention that the head coach from 19 years got fired and we didn't bring it up once in an hour that, you know, was going to go live hours later. And then the same thing happened to my other show. So a lot going on, pretty crazy. And yes, that is a distinction I want to get out of the way was he was not fired. Thus, he's still a Steelers asset. He's still property of the Steelers. And it's really, from the way I understand it, exactly like Sean Payton leaving the Saints. So Payton took a year off and did media. And then the Broncos said, hey, we really want to hire Sean Payton, which has worked out well for them, obviously. And they sent a 1st and 2nd round pick to the Saints for Sean Payton and a 3rd a year later. And that chip is still in the Steelers basket. You know, I mean, I guess Tennessee could call tomorrow and say, we want Tomlin. How about a 2nd round pick for him? All right. You know, so that could still happen too, you know?
And that's perfect because the Steelers are going to need that 2nd round pick to send to the 49ers for Mac Jones when they hire Robert Saleh as the head coach and bring in Mike McDaniel as the offensive coordinator and then have Mac Jones as their next franchise quarterback. And it for the low price of a 2nd round pick.
Of what it cost you for Tomlin, right?
Yeah. We will talk more about that and realistic. I guess that is a realistic option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's going to be a lot of names out there. I'm sure that they're going to be circling and trying to figure out who the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to be. Legacy-wise for Mike Tomlin, 19 years, which is second to very few people, right? And so what's the legacy for Mike Tomlin? He's got a ring. I guess you could
Never
say
had a
that
season.
he's a guy that, like, my initial thought was you can't fire Mike Tomlin, but him stepping away feels right at the same time because things were just stagnant. And how many years in a row can you win 9 games and not win any playoffs?
Exactly. So coincidentally, in week 18, when they beat the Ravens, he tied Chuck Noll for most regular season victories in Steelers history. Both are like 30 or so ahead of Cowher. They're the only 3 that matter. That's been there since the early 70s, obviously.
And will remain tied now into eternity.
Yep, until eternity.
He comes back and head coaches some other day.
Some other day, yeah.
Maybe he gets some rest and there's a one and done coach and he decides to come back and wants to be a Steeler still.
So what I've been preaching, BP, at least today, is appreciation for what he did here.
Yeah.
Now, I think a lot of people have actually made fun of the non-losing season streak, and boy, that's hollow. When's the last time you won a playoff game? Every time you go to the wild card game, you get blown out, like we saw last night. All true, but I still think that's a heck of an accomplishment, and he's accomplished a lot more than that too. And he is an impressive man. I've been around him. He's done a lot of good things for my city, this organization, Steeler fans. Of those 19 years have been a lot more good than bad. You know what I mean? I don't think he's the best head coach ever, but I think he's going to the Hall of Fame and deserves not let the door hit you in the ass type thing. But, kudos, at least on today. And that being said, I think it's the right move probably for him, but definitely for the team. I think it's a really good time to kind of turn the page to another chapter, maybe get your quarterback of the future, got the place in terms of coaches, which I assume will happen, and just try things a different route, because getting to 9-10 wins and then losing badly in the playoffs is frankly getting old. And I would bet, as a motivator, his message is probably I don't know, but I'm sure it's hard to keep sending the same message for 19 years and have it resonate the same way through the walls. And frankly, I don't think he or this coaching staff has given the Steelers schematic advantages in game prep or game day for some time. And that doesn't mean the game passed him by. It's just when they do battle with Shanahan, he out-schemes them.
Yeah, and maybe it'll be good for Tomlin to take a step away, refresh, and decide how he wants to attack the next job. Maybe come up with some new ideas that wouldn't really hit you if you were in the day-to-day as you had been for the last 19 years with the Steelers.
Super quick. I don't think he was necessarily pushed out, but I think he was nudged out. And this is
it wasn't like fighting super hard to keep him and they may have talk him out of it.
Right. But he may also see the writing on the wall and be like, I've tried to find a quarterback for 7 years and I can't find one here. Why don't I just go to Tennessee and coach Cam Ward?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Is there a chance he takes the job this offseason?
I have no idea. But I know that he loves it. I mean, I don't think he's burnt out. I don't think he wants to be life without football. I can't imagine him just like being on a beach or whatever Kingsbury did in Asia or whatever. I think he's going to be at a minimum employed doing football stuff.
Do you think teams or TV networks are reaching out faster to hire Mike Tomlin right now?
Tie.
Really?
Absolute tie.
Yeah.
Little birdies have told me like the Raiders would kill to get a guy to get them to 8 or 9 wins a year.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They tried that last year.
They did. Yeah.
Exact thing. Right.
Yeah. And because Mike Tomlin has the mix that is hard to find of a guy who's still not old, but has a crazy amount of experience.
I mean, I think he was like 35 or 36 when he took the job. It was like came out of nowhere.
Okay, I want to talk more about the Steelers and where they're going with this, and then some of the other head coach openings now in the NFL, of which there are 9. Could there become 10? And
I can't remember so many of them.
This is insane. This is a third of the league, and this is more than 2 complete divisions of new coaches.
Speaking of 3 in the North,
there's Zach Taylor didn't have a good year. He's sitting there by himself, the only head coach left in the division.
I've been joking all day that the worst coach in the division is the only one that has a job.
That's true. He's got the worst resume for sure.
Yeah.
Steelers, Texans. I know we're talking a lot of Steelers. We're talking head coach in this episode. We have got to give the flowers, as they say, to the Houston Texans for the performance that they had against the Steelers on the road in the wild card playoff round, and where the Steelers' job ranks amongst these other 9 now head coach openings in the NFL next. Today's episode of NFL Six Pack is brought to you by Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is when you want a candidate you truly want to match with what you are looking for. Trust Indeed sponsored jobs, because if you're hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs puts your post on top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. Now, if you need to hire someone, say for your podcast network, you go straight to Indeed and be very specific about what you need. Real experience, not just a resume buzzword. And according to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. So spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show can get a $75 sponsored job credit to give your job the premium title placement it deserves. Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. This episode is also brought to you by Quo, like status quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think, man, there's got to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with your customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed. Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. So make this year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to Quo.com/LockedOnNFL. That's Quo, Quo.com/LockedOnNFL. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. All right. We're not doing 6 separate subjects today because of the one big subject. And one of the catalysts to Mike Tomlin not being the head coach of the Steelers as we sit here on Tuesday is because what happened about 24 hours ago on Monday Night Football. And it was an absolute clinic put on by the Houston Texans defense and head coach DeMeco Ryans. There's so much talent on that unit. They play so hard and they play so together. I don't think it's hyperbole to say the Texans defense is the best singular unit in the playoffs right now in either conference. Yeah. And I don't think you're a team. I don't think you want to see the Houston Texans right now in this tournament, even if the offense is still a little weird.
Yeah. And let's start with the offense, I guess. But if you're a Texans fan, do you look at it like, boy, that's the worst that Stroud could play? I thought he was terrible. I've been calling him a double agent all day. Like, I think both teams were paying him. I mean,
he's been that way all year. There's a lot of blame on everything but Stroud the last couple of years. I think this offseason, whenever this ends, if they don't go all the way, I think it'll be because of the quarterback play and because of the offense. They're going to have to take a hard look at CJ Stroud, and he's going to have to realize he has to play better. I think that's clear.
I've been defending him like crazy all week, saying, boy, I think he's underrated, blah, blah, blah. And he was terrible in this game. I mean, really, really bad. I mean, they ran the ball really well. But if you told me Stroud played like he did and Nico Collins was a total non-factor in the game because of injuries, and frankly, Joey Porter Jr. did a really good job on him. I think he's the only Steeler that played well. I'd be like, well, Steelers probably won this thing, or it was, 10-9 or something like that in the end, But no, he turned the ball over, You
don't have to score on offense if you score on defense.
Right. I mean, and Steeler fans didn't want to hear it, and it's not dismissing the bad offense that we saw from Pittsburgh, because that played into it for sure, as well as bad game planning, in my opinion. But if I was like in your shoes or Bears fan shoes and I'm watching, I've been like, man, is this awesome to watch? Because this defense is nasty and fast and well coached and really talented at all levels. And Petrie and guys people don't know like the back of their hand, but they should, are phenomenal football players. And just read some things today that per EPA and some of these, DVOA, some of these advanced type numbers, it was the best defensive performance in the playoffs in like well over 10 years. And it definitely passed that eyeball test.
It was crazy how that dam just broke finally in the fourth quarter too. And it was still a winnable football game through 3 quarters. It was 7-6 at halftime. And
it was 7-6 going into the fourth quarter, which is hard to believe.
And then 23 points in the fourth quarter, 2 defensive scores, which I think is the first time in playoff history that a defense has scored twice in the fourth quarter.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And so that's,
there's no doubt who the better team was. For almost the entire game. Yeah.
And and then finally the Steelers just collapsed, and that was the end of the football game. And 30-6 was the final score, even though it was close for 3 quarters of the game. Aaron Rodgers looked pretty done. I had not really been a big fan of Arthur Smith's really since before the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I just think that there's enough to change in Pittsburgh that now that there's a coaching change, you can actually do all the other change that you probably needed to do anyway. Yeah. If we're talking about the takeaways from the Steelers now after this game, if the takeaway from the Houston Texans is their defense is ridiculously good and they could still go win some games and who knows, maybe even win it all this year, the Steelers have a lot of work to do to get to that point.
They do. And they're an older roster, but it's not hard to get away from their older guys. I mean, like one of them's Aaron Rodgers. And, when you look at like snap weighted age, they're near the top of the league, but it's because you have a 41-year-old quarterback as part of it. And Hayward and Watt and Ramsey and some of those dudes. But all in all, what I can't answer is how do you find your next quarterback? I mean, that's going to be really testing it. And I know it's coincidentally 100 days from now, the draft is going to be held in Pittsburgh, and there's like this countdown, and I don't think it's coming from the draft. So that's the elephant in the room. But they got 5 picks in the top 100 next year. They got a lot of cap space. They do have some young guys to build around. I just think an entire new generation is coming in to Pittsburgh, and it's time.
And, old guys retire or whatever. I don't know if Hayward wants to play beyond this year or if the Band-Aid gets ripped off and, it's Rodgers, Tomlin, Hayward, and a bunch of guys out. TJ Watt's the big one because
I want Hayward's leadership. I don't think he's ever leaving.
Really? Okay. So you think
I've been throwing out it might be time to trade Watt.
How do you're not going to, if you're potentially going to be a lot worse for a while. And I know the Steelers have never really been that team where they completely rebuild, but what is it worth to have, one awesome cornerstone defensive player that has all this value and still lose? Could that be the catalyst to help you add more picks and get this rebuild started going the other direction? And
in hindsight,
that doesn't have a winning record finally, right? Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, they should have traded him last offseason. Instead, they made him like the highest paid defensive player in the league and gave him a huge, and frankly, he's declined since 2025. Watt wasn't as good as 2024. I mean, 2024 was like a borderline defense player of the year. He's not that player, I don't think, anymore.
You think he's not that player anymore, or he just wasn't this year for other reasons?
Hard to say, but I lean towards just doesn't have the juice he once did. Like people that do like get off time for the edge pass rushers, his has gone up every year.
But he's in the back 9.
Yeah. But if I'm the Lions, you already paid a signing bonus. There's a lot of teams that still use TJ Watt. I mean, he's still a big time impact player. And I think that would make some sense, things like that. Maybe you move on from Ramsey and save 20 million or whatever,
I want to talk about some potential candidates for the Steelers job now that it is open. What you'd be looking for there, since I'm talking to a guy who knows the Steelers as well as anybody. And then where this Steelers job is with some of the other jobs now, 9 head coach openings in the NFL.
Yeah.
But real quick, is there an internal guy? Because that's kind of been the thing. And it's Art Rooney II is in charge, right? Is there a Art Rooney the third somewhere? Because Art Rooney the second is not young anymore either.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I mean, there is a day that his son will take over. Not to get too convoluted in the Rooney family tree, but every one of them is named Art and Dan, and it gets remarkably confusing.
There's Arts and Dans, and there's seconds and thirds, and
yes, yeah. So it gets remarkably confusing. But his father was the ambassador to Ireland, and his father was the guy with the cigar.
Yeah. Okay. And internally, this isn't going to be like Arthur Smith. Congratulations, your head coach.
I would be shocked.
Okay.
He's interviewing for the Titans job. I can't imagine the Steelers look at him. Not that they're down on the guy, and but I think it's a total change.
Interesting. So potentially outside the organization. Okay, what would be a fit there? And how does this Steelers job rank with some of the rest of the 9 head coach openings in the NFL as we sit here in the offseason in January, getting ready for the divisional round of the playoffs next? This episode of NFL Six Pack is brought to you by Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is an all-in-one, remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. And knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you a real peace of mind. And automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, direct deposits save hours every week. So try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnfl and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right. 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnfl. One more time, that's gusto.com/lockedonnfl. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We've got the divisional round of the playoffs upcoming, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each day, you'll wake up to a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to bets you like most. And this boost gives you more juice on the bets you actually already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Boosts you can lean into whether you're quarterback or you're backing a quarterback play or defense or momentum or coaching or whatever it is. You can take your picks, then apply your profit boosts to go even bigger, and visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. That is FanDuel.com. Okay, here we go. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
It is a job that potentially a head coach would look at and say, well, I'm not going here because they have a quarterback, a young star quarterback. Mm-hmm. I'm going here because I might not get fired for 20 years, right? So that's
my grandkids might be in, right, be in Pittsburgh, right?
You might get to meet Art and Dan Rooney the fifth someday, right?
Right. They might be your boss, right?
And so what are you looking for if you are, let's say you were one of the Arts or Dans, and or you were a consultant for the Arts and Dans in the Rooney family? What would you be looking for in the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers if it's not an internal hire? There's no young 35-year-old Tomlin in the building that you promote to head coach. Who might be that person that you're looking for?
Well, everyone around here operates under the assumption that it's going to be the mid-30 to 40-year-old, not super well-known, up-and-comer, and he'll be here for 2 decades and win a Super Bowl or 2. And, because Cowher was that guy and Tomlin was that guy, and frankly, kind of Knoll was, but we're talking about the 70s here. He was Shula's assistant, a million years ago. Now I look at it like, dude, that was 2 decades ago they made that hire. Like, it's not like they have this, they don't do it every 5 years. like it's clockwork. It's happened 3 times. That doesn't mean that's the only way that they're going to hire a head coach. And they've all been more defensive style. They're not the offensive play caller guys. I don't think any of us know that answer at all. You know, I mean, I'm sure they're looking for someone with more maybe long-term stability than the average franchise, you know, not like get me out of a hole for the next 2 years, but I don't think that they have to have the young guy that they assume will be here for the next 4 decades.
Yeah. Get the best coach first and then worry about how old they are. Recency bias, does that play a role? Say you're sitting there and you're making the decisions. You're like, well, we failed at quarterback, so we're going to do the thing that is the best quarterbacky, which means offensive coach, quarterback guru type. Or do you potentially look at the Houston Texans and say, well, this team just wiped the floor with us. Mm-hmm. Let's go to that tree of coach, right? And try to do something that they're doing because it worked so good on us and we were impressed by that. Which route do you feel like they're going to go if they were to go offense or defense or something like that? Or is it just the type of organizations where we're going to get a defensive guy?
I mean, maybe it's more, we want the CEO, leader of men, guy that's never going to embarrass us or be a goof, you know, face of the city. It is kind of a small town by NFL standards too. And, you know, like word gets around, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. You know, like I think they want a very stable, strong human being, you know, maybe more so than schemer.
They're not going to go hire Lane Kiffin.
Right. I would think that's safe to say.
that type of
right.
Coach, right.
And I don't mean this the wrong way, but the Rooney Rule is the Rooney Rule. I'm sure African-American coaches, and Mike Tomlin is a pillar in the African-American coach, you know, landscape, that matters maybe more here than anywhere else, or as much as anywhere else. Fine. You know, great. But I don't know. I don't know what their type is. A couple names that kind of make sense to me are Flores, whose contract is up. He was a linebacker coach here 2 years ago. Mincher, the defensive coordinator for the Chargers, you know, and there's Ravens connections and they had the scheme against them. And he seems like that leader of men type guy, up and comer, young guy. The Rams defensive coordinator, Shula, who's Don Shula's grandson. And I'm sure Shula's and Rooney's have known each other from back when it was Bob Greasy against Joe Green.
Yeah. And Shula coached under Noel coached under Shula.
The granddaddy,
yes.
And against them many times in playoff games for the 70s when they were the premier organizations.
Yeah,
there's an overlap. It's a very
cool name that would ring out, I think. Yeah.
It kind of resonates with the Steelers. I mean, they've Watt brothers and Hayward brothers and Porters, and there's a lot of that going on. And Mike McCarthy's from Pittsburgh. That's not super exciting, but he's from Pittsburgh, you know.
And
Tower was from Pittsburgh.
Coach with a good resume.
Yeah. And he's an offensive-minded guy, you know. I mean, the Steelers have churned through a lot of offensive coordinators. I could see them saying, we really want a young offensive play caller that's good, and we don't have to go through 100 coordinators, you know.
Davis Mills
seems
to be getting it's a 30-year-old ex-quarterback.
I think Davis Mills is the Texans backup. You're talking about
I know Davis, say
the other former backup quarterback.
Davis Mills is the Texans backup.
Super
Why not? You're going a 30-year-old former backup. Why not just go to the 25-year-old current backup?
Right.
Davis
Webb. Yes.
Davis Webb. There we go. All the first name Davis are running through my head. Davis Webb is what I was thinking of. Yeah. He's the young name, the young guy.
Yeah. I don't have an inclination on that, but this news also broke like 6 hours ago. So.
That's true.
Yeah.
And we'll find out with when they see the list of coaches that they're going to try to interview.
Yeah.
So
where would you put it on the list of
the jobs?
Best jobs.
It's the stability and ownership. It has to rank high. They're
a first place team.
Yes.
I mean, there's something to be said for that. They're not the best team in the league, but they won their division.
An organization that wins. You don't get to bring in your own GM. So that's probably a knock against some coaches.
I assume Omar Khan will stay here.
And it's similar for Baltimore. Baltimore, very stable as well. Baltimore has the quarterback. So I think
Mm-hmm.
the Steelers job has to rank below the Ravens job.
I can make an argument for both, but I'm a little biased. But I think Lamar's enough for because where's the Steelers quarterback come from? I mean, it's his.
Well, yeah, it's like if you take the Steelers job or you take the Cardinals job, it's the same. It's the same job, just with different bosses.
And the bosses are key.
And the bosses are key, but
Right.
if you're still looking for your quarterback, and if you don't get that all figured out, then it's not
And
going
you
to
pick
last.
21st.
You're not going to be there for 19 years if you can't get that. So
Right. How
and
do
you
you get
get
your
that
next bet?
Roethlisberger, which is a big part of being there for a long time and winning a title. So obviously that's huge, and you already have that in Baltimore. So I'd rank it behind Baltimore. You have a good young quarterback in New York with the Giants. I think that's thought of as a pretty good job, and I think people tend to like ownership there as far as the coaching ranks goes. I think that's, in fact, I think that's probably where I would put the most likely landing spot for Harbaugh. It feels like.
I think when we ranked them on Black Monday, Tennessee and the Giants were the only ones behind Baltimore.
Yeah, I had the Giants second. You had Tennessee second, who also had a young quarterback.
Yeah, because I like Ward better than Dart.
You like Ward. Then Miami, again, similarly to the Cardinals and the Steelers, where you've got work to do and you've got to figure out the whole thing and figure out the quarterback and figure out the offense. So I'd probably put all of those teams without quarterbacks behind the Steelers and behind all the teams that do have quarterbacks. So the Steelers would. So here's my ranking: Baltimore 1, and then it's really close. I would probably go Steelers just because I think ownership is still the most important thing.
Yeah.
And we don't know how good those other quarterbacks are. Then I'd go New York. Then I would go Tennessee. Then, Atlanta, Miami.
Raiders are last.
Browns Raiders.
Are last.
Cardinals are pretty low for me. Yeah. And the Browns are, Browns, Cardinals, Raiders are bottom 3 for sure.
Speaking of Browns, I would find it very interesting if Stefanski lands with the Ravens or Steelers.
Certainly.
And I don't think it'd be shocking.
Candidate. Yeah, he should absolutely be a top candidate. Well, could Harbaugh go to the Steelers?
And Tomlin goes to the Ravens?
Yeah. We spoke about that before, but why would you not interview the best coach available if you're the Steelers?
Side note, it's very funny, but the Ravens owner did his exit press conference today. And as he was live on the podium, the Tomlin news broke, and their media guy slid him a piece of paper, check out this. And he goes, "Oh, bleep, that really happened."
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. I'm sure it's all over YouTube and stuff.
Oh, what an offseason this has already started out to be. I can't remember a time when there was more job openings. And is there one more to come really quick here before we go?
The only one I can see is Green Bay.
When we record tomorrow, where we can talk about the Green Bay Packers job open and the Harbaugh connection potentially there.
That's the only one I could possibly gather. And it's kind of for the same reasons as Harbaugh and Tomlin, where you're getting us close, but you're not quite there. And boy, you handled things poorly in that last game we just saw. And that's not a good taste in our mouth. But from what I understand, they don't have an owner, as everyone knows. But it used to be Mark Murphy was the president of the team. Now it's somebody else whose name I don't know. But this new president, I'm almost certain his son is Harbaugh's agent. Which, I wouldn't say the Packers are even on the hot seat or even a chance if Harbaugh wasn't available.
There's almost always a connection. And do they see this as a time to change because they can get a top coach? In which case, LaFleur in Pittsburgh would be a phenomenal fit.
Then does Aaron Rodgers come back? Do we trade for Willis? I've already thought about this one.
One more year, Rodgers. Yeah. Incubate potentially another quarterback.
Trust me, if I had choice of anyone that could be available, Willis. Offensive mind, give me LaFleur, Rodgers, and trade for Willis. Yeah, let's go.
You don't have to trade for Willis. Willis is a free agent.
Oh, yeah. Do both.
It's not going to be that expensive.
Yep.
Wow. This could get even more interesting than it already is. Get those mailbag questions. I know that there's questions bouncing around in your heads if you're listening to this podcast. Get those into me and Matt at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL in the YouTube comments. Check out the Everydayers Club, NFL6pack.supercast.com. Link in the show notes, ad-free feeds. There is an invite to the Discord to chat with fans of this show and fans around the NFL and a whole lot more. And Matt and I back tomorrow right here, the NFL 6-Pack.